also easy for us to get an address because we need to prove residency if they're going to get those rates. So we have a very extensive database. We've got 8 years of this information. We can track their behavior. We can market to them separately. We can send them emails that are pertinent to their interests or their playing habits. And it's also a free form of advertising, so it works very well for us. And what we've done is we've outperformed a lot of the other golf courses in the area, a lot of BCG golf courses, and a lot of our competition. So although 2008 was still our highest watermark, and then we had some economic challenges and some weather patterns that we feel like were a little inconsistent, we really remained flat on revenue and the expense line since 2008. And this is, now I'm going to turn it over to Matt. He's going to talk about some of the programs that we're doing with them.
All right. Again, I'm Matt Burgess. I'm the general manager who's at Falmouth Country Club. Ryan was there before myself. Just want to go over a few of the programs that we offer. I think one of the most exciting things that Billy Casper's philosophy has is, a lot of people go to Verizon, AT&T, and go to get a cell phone, and they'll give you the world, but once they have you as a customer, they don't really care about you anymore. The deals are gone. Where Billy Casper's mentality is we know that we want to go out and get more customers, but at the same time, more importantly, we'll want to reward our current customers and try to make them play at our golf course as much as possible. So we've created several loyalty cards. We have a resident golf card and an advantage card up here. I'll go into those a little bit more on some future slides, but those are some programs we offer. Ease of reservations very important. Many of you book airline flights or hotel fees or hotel rooms, and lots of times it's very difficult or it's time consuming. We're trying to speed things up and make it easy for our guests to make reservations at our golf course. We have 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can call us and you can talk to a live person. We use EasyLinks Golf, which is one of the largest reservation services in the entire country. Everything is streamlined, internet-based, right to the golf course. So you can call on the phone if you're very computer savvy and you like to do everything online. You can book online 24 hours a day. And again, everything is populated right into our system. And as Ryan alluded to earlier, even more importantly, right into our database. Once you've booked the tee time, we already have your information. Everything's streamlined. But if you're a first-time golfer, we're able to, capture your address, your email address, your phone number, tons of information. And again, Ryan touched on this, relevant communication. How many times do you get an email from, a company that maybe you frequent, but they just barrage you with just every email in the world and hoping that maybe one of those sticks. We try and get it so that it means something to you. If you're a most valuable golfer, we let you know that if you're not going to get a most valuable golfer type coupon if you've been there once, because it wouldn't make sense. You're really not one of our most valuable. You beat me possibly a most growable or an inactive golfer. Not this past year, but 2 years ago, we had our top 20 list and we sent them a personal thank you note saying thank you for playing our golf course and offered them a reward. A most growable might be a person that plays 3 or 4 times a year, but you want them to play 5 or 6. A value per customer, you might see someone that's always playing Twilight, always playing 9 holes, is always looking for a good deal. That's what you would market to them. An inactive golfer might be a golfer that maybe played once in 2009. And we have that information, where have they been? We send them targeted offer to come back to the golf course again. And that's why I think, again, it's important for relative communication, not just barrage them with a million emails, because after a while, once you see the Falmouth Country Club email in your inbox, you're probably just going to delete it without even reading it. Again, creative programming, Falmouth Commodores, we've been partnered with. We're the back page, full color ad on their program. Every year we employ Falmouth Commodores that work at our golf course. We have a banner out in the outfield. We feel we have a great partnership with the Commodores. Falmouth and Cape Cod Chambers, we're members of both of those and advertise with them. And Wounded Warrior Project started 2 years ago. So this year would be the second year. Here's a poster that we hung in the clubhouse and put out, just to give you a little idea about this. It's the world's largest golf outing. It's a Billy Casper Golf Initiative played at over 100 golf courses nationwide. we're partnered with the Wounded Warrior Project. And the idea, the first year was, try and raise some money, try and get in the Guinness Book of World Records, hold a simultaneous golf outing in 100 golf courses. And, it was trying to get a record and trying to raise some money for a good charity. Well, to put it in perspective, last year, I don't know what the golfer total was, but Billy Capper raised about $40,000 for charity, which we were all excited about. This year, and at Falmouth Country Club, I think we had 42, 45 golfers that played. This year, year two, we raised over $400,000 for Wounded Warrior, and over 7,900 golfers, and at Falmouth we had 163 golfers. So it was just a great event. We had Wounded Warriors that came and played in the tournament, and everyone had a good time. I've talked to several people, and I wouldn't be surprised if next year we can combine it and maybe even have 2 tournaments in the same day and try and get over 200 golfers. Resident Appreciation Day. First and foremost, we want Falmouth Country Club, everyone to know it's their golf course. It's the residents of Falmouth and Mashpee. It was the deal up front, but more importantly, Falmouth, come out and play on every year for the last 3 or 4 years since I've been at Falmouth. I've wanted to do Patriots, or is it Patriots? Yeah, Patriots Day. Massachusetts thing, but everyone's off of work, or most people, and we want to try and get as many people playing as we can. We charge $1. You can come out and play Falmouth Country Club for $1 between 11 and 3, get a burger or a hot dog, go out and have a great day. Last year we had a record number of players, not this year unfortunately, but we had over 350 golfers. And I'll tell you what, for April 16th, days aren't too long yet. So to get that many golfers out in one day is pretty impressive that time of the year. So it's widely loved by the town, and it's just a great day. Demo day, same thing. It's a fun time to get the equipment manufacturers out at the golf course. Get people out there hitting new clubs, and it's another event that people look forward to. Springtime comes and people are already asking, when's demo day? When's demo day? ACE the Guest Experience. ACE is a program started by Billy Casper 5-6 years ago. It's a program where we teach, it's a 2 to 3 hour seminar that I run at the beginning of the year for the entire staff. It's mandatory that anyone that works at a Billy Casper golf course, and obviously Falmouth Country Club, have to go through it before they start. It's Billy Casper golf rule that within 2 weeks of your hire date, you have to go through the program. And it's the #1 mantra that we teach in the whole thing is everyone's job is to treat each guest to a fun and enjoyable golf experience. So when anyone leaves, you can ask anyone that works at Falmouth Country Club. Well, it might be a trick question, it's not somebody from Billy Casper, but you say, what is your job? And your #1 job is to treat each guest to a fun and enjoyable golf experience. You're not a ranger, you're not a pro shop worker, you treat each guest to a fun and enjoyable golf experience. We get secret shops. This is we do it to ourselves. We want to know how we're doing. We have 2 times a month in season. Someone can come into the golf shop and they'll, from the beginning of going to the range and hitting balls to purchasing in the golf shop to their interaction with the beverage cart worker on the golf course to maintenance. It's over 100 questions of bullet points that we have to hit. And it would be agreed by anybody, if you hit every one of those bullet points, you left having a great day. BCGU is something that's getting started. It's at the corporate level. It's to try and make our employees better people. It's a pretty in-depth program of how to be the best golf operator that you can be. Safety makes sense. Last year started, obviously we've always had an importance on safety, but safety is now our #1 priority, whether it be for our coworkers or for our guests that play our golf courses. Attached to the ACE training that everyone has to go through, we have a pretty in-depth video that has job by job, whether you're working in food and beverage or you're working on the maintenance department or you're even just driving the course as a ranger, how important safety is for you and like I said, and our guests. Creative programming. Every year, this is kind of a list of 2012's member tournaments. The annual pass people can play in, but also we don't want to try and limit it to just the people who have annual passes at our golf course. It's anyone who has a gin handicap card, which can be purchased at the club. Basically, we have groups that, all the way from ladies that just play 9 holes on Tuesdays, to seniors that play on Wednesdays and Thursdays. The importance of having a gin handicap so everyone can play fairly, but can play in any of these events. We try and spread them throughout the summer, so there's kind of an event every month. We get a June, July, August, late September. Members, member guests, Nine and Dines. We host several Nine and Dines of different organizations around town that are run by couples that might play 9 holes of golf at Falmouth and then head down to La Cucina for dinner. Some pretty good events. There's an example of a global tournament we do in the fall. We have Marcom, which is our marketing team, does a great job, and I send them the information that I'm looking for, and they put together in a nice poster or flyer that you can hang around the clubhouse. Memberships. This just kind of shows the offering. We try and meet the needs of everyone. Whether you're an avid golfer that might play 50, 60, 70, 100 times a year. We have golfers who play well over 100 times a year. Maybe an annual pass is something right up your sleeve. If you don't play enough, maybe you only play 10 times a year, an Advantage card. An Advantage card you have to purchase, but you get a substantial discount. A resident card. If you can prove that you live in Falmouth or Mashpee at no charge, you get a resident card. It comes with a simple program. Every 5 times you play, you get a 9-hole round for free, and you're entitled to the resident rate, which would save you $10 to $12 off your green fee just for living in town. And then finally, a golf rewards card, which anyone can get. If they live in Juneau, Alaska, and they play Falmouth Country Club, they can get a golf rewards card. And it's, again, the same program. Every 5 times they play, they get a 9-hole for free. Which, again, all these kind of lead back to what I said early on, is that I really like the fact that we reward the people that play our golf course all the time. And I'll be walking around in public, and people will say, "Oh, I'm a member at your golf course." And you kind of look at them, and they look a little familiar, but you're not totally sure who they are, and they're like, "We only have 100 members. How do I not know who this person is?" Well, sometimes they might just have a rewards card, but they feel like they're a member of our course, which is great. The annual pass, which is kind of the big expensive gift for Christmas, if anyone's interested. We added 2 new memberships, again, trying to meet the needs of what people are looking for. We have the unlimited season pass, which is new, and a junior pass, which we're proud of. We always have the juniors play free on the 9-hole course, which is a program that I've been in the golf business quite a while. I know I'm not that old, but since I was 16, I'm 38, I've worked at a bunch of golf courses. No golf course I've ever been to has free golf. They have discounted rates for juniors, but as long as you're playing with a paying adult, you get to play for free. But we also said, all right, well, lots of parents don't necessarily always want to have to, play with their kids, or vice versa. Probably more realistically, the kids don't want to always have to be with their parents. So we said, well, why don't we create a membership that would be on the talent course, on the 9-hole course only. It would be extremely affordable, that a parent can drop off, their kids and maybe another kid can get together. So for $399, it would include their green fees for the entire year. So that's something we're looking forward to promoting in the springtime for next year. And again, reward returning members, which is great. And we also offer incentive, or we reward our returning members with discounts and offer incentives for new members with discounts. Player development, very important that we're developing our future golfers. Dave McDermott is going to return, and has returned as our Director of Instruction. Again, kids play for free 7 days a week. We estimate, this isn't a hard number, but it's probably a pretty good guesstimate, that we've probably done over 8,500 rounds since 2005 of kids that have gone out and played. I'm not saying 8,500 different kids, but 8,500 rounds of free golf, which is a lot of golf. Falmouth Rec Center, we still run their junior golf camps. It's widely popular. As Helen will attest to, it's one of the first programs that fills up every spring. And it's just really, they really enjoy it. And there's many kids that have gone through that program that are now, come out on their own. They've learned to play at Falmouth, and now they play golf at Falmouth. Get Golf Ready and Golf for Women. It's a Billy Casper. It's not a Billy Casper initiative, but it's something that we're really partnered with. It's a PGA, USGA, CSGA program. The whole idea is to get people who wouldn't even know what side of a golf club to pick up, wouldn't know how to hit a golf ball, and are probably more than anything intimidated You know, how many things we're uncomfortable to do? I mean, it's intimidating to go to the golf course for the first time if you've never played golf before. You're always scared to ask, you know, a stupid question. So this is a program that's extremely affordable. You get 5 1.5-hour sessions for $99, and we want you to leave there being comfortable. You learn the etiquette, you learn the rules, you learn how to swing a golf club. We also continue to do the Morse Pond Middle School after-school programs in the spring and the fall. And we, as Bob also said earlier, we host both the men and women's Falmouth High School teams. Staff development is very important. As Ryan had touched on, we both have kind of come up through the Billy Casper organization, from assistant pros all the way up to general managers. Ryan's a regional manager. We had a PGA internship program that we started 3 years ago. This year was our 3rd PGM intern to come through Falmouth, Trevor Nealis. Many of you who play golf had a chance to meet him. He was a great kid. He's back to school for his sophomore year, and we already have an intern for 2013 committed. And those of you who don't know, that's where Ryan went to school, but Ferris State's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And one of the things that is really great for us is the apartment upstairs in the clubhouse is very, makes it a lot easier to get an intern, especially the one intern that we're getting next year is from Ohio. The 2 interns before that, obviously being from Ferris State, were both from Michigan. So it just makes it a lot easier for a young kid to be able to come to Cape Cod for the summer, and one less thing he has to worry about is finding a place to live. Course improvements for the year. Last couple of years we've come talking about bunker projects and different things that are really exciting. This past year it's not quite as exciting, but it's still things that we needed to do. One of them was install a pump on the old pump house. The old pump house was the original pump house from the original 18 that went back to when Louis Revisa built the golf course in the 60s. So its time had come and gone, so we had to put a new pump out there. The halfway house was built on a test well that was amazing. It lasted more than a year or 2, but it finally, in the middle of the summer, we had to have those lovely porta potties out there for a weekend or 2 while we installed the new well for the bathrooms at the halfway house. And the thing that Bucky is always, most important to him is continuing to apply sound environmental practices to maintain our Autobahn certification. And obviously, as we alluded to earlier with the Article 7 that came up this past week, he was very concerned about, working with the town and, making sure that Falmouth Country Club was a leader in making sure that, we didn't apply nitrogen where we weren't supposed to. And that's all I have. And unless anyone has any more questions, I think that's the end of our presentation.
Great, thank you very much. Do I have any questions from anyone on the board here?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any? Pat?
No, I don't have a question. It's just very impressive what you've been able to do the last several years. It's great for Falmouth, and it seems very great for you, too.
I can say that I was on the board when the board purchased Falmouth Country Club, and there was some skepticism in the public's eye about a public-private partnership, meaning, but you've surely proved to the people in the community as well as to the people here on the board that these can work in the right scenarios, in the right situation. And after all, you folks know how to run golf courses and really know how to market and do the right thing when it comes to that. Whereas I think if the town had undertaken it, it would have been a long, hard learning curve in any event. But I appreciate the work you continue to do out there, and I know it provides opportunity for folks in this community. One thing we know is that we've got a 27-hole golf course that's always going to be there for the people in Falmouth. It's not going to go the way of development. It's going to stay as a golf course, provide quality of life in this community. Doug?
Only comment I'd make have to do with the tee times. I've used a number of different ways of getting tee times. The other one I would include is show up. That your group is great about saying, well, we can squeeze you in here, and often it's wide open. You can get on the course at any time. So it is not a place you always have to have a tee time. You can, particularly in the afternoon, show up any time and get on the course very easily.
Billy Casper initiative it's called No Golfer Left Behind. and we try to make every possible, we'll adjust things around just to try not to turn people away.
That's certainly been my experience, and commend you for that also.
Great. Anything else? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Okay. Thank you very much. We look forward to a long relationship. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is vote and appoint Bikeways Committee member. The board remembers. We had interviewed 2 candidates and took both applications under advisement. We have 1 position with a term expiring on 6/30/15. So we have Samara Haver and
Kathy Ryman.
Kathy Ryman. So do I have a motion to put both names into nomination?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion before we do the vote?
Mr. Chairman, is this someone you've already interviewed prior?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
And I know you were sitting home glued to the television set watching every meeting, so you're probably up to speed on this. If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine.
It's fine, Mr. Chairman.
I'll call a roll call vote, and Doug.
Samara Haber?
All right. David, are you going to?
Ryman.
Ryman, okay. Brent?
Haver.
I'll vote for Haver. Pat? Haver. So, Samara Haver has been appointed to the Bikeways Committee with a term expiring 6/30/15. If she's out there, we'd love to see you at the town clerk's office. And,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
Just comment on the nomination.
sure.
I'd like to, of course, thank Ms. Ryman for her application. My reason for supporting Ms. Haver is she has experience in other bike paths around the country, and I think having that experience brought into our committee could be very useful, which is the reason why I felt to support her nomination.
Very good.
And I would make another comment, too, is that Ms. Ryman should not be thinking that that's the end of the line, because these appointments do come up periodically, and we hope that she would reapply if another position opens.
Very true. Okay. Next up is a discuss and vote pump-out boat grant from the Harbor Master's Department. Mr. Frazier was unable to join us this evening, but Mr. Suso is going to give us a little recap on some of his comments for this.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, Griggs apologizes not able to be with us here tonight, but he did give me a summary, some information. As Griggs confirmed, the town automatically gets a grant renewal each year. The initial grant was started prior to Griggs being harbor master with the town, so he knows that we've been getting it for over 15 years consecutively. The grant reimburses the town up to 75% for expenses associated with the operation of the pump-out boat and the fixed pump-out station at Robbins Road. When all related operational and maintenance expenses are covered, including the seasonal salary of the pump-out boat operator. And finally, the pump-out boat is primarily for Wacoit Bay in West Falmouth, although the Harbor Master's Office does stop in other places as time permits, and that's a summary of that long-standing annual grant.
I do know that originally the town did receive, I don't know the specifics on it, a grant for the pump-out boat itself. So this was an initiative by both the Commonwealth of Mass and the government, the United States government, to try to clean up our waterways. What is the board's pleasure in this regard? This is a renewal. If the board would deem necessary to send it to the Finance Committee, I could understand that, but this isn't one of those grants that has any incremental cost, and has been a grant that is renewed on an annual basis.
Mr. Chairman, because I was one of the main critics of the way we're handling grants, but I've reviewed this thoroughly, and in fact, I'll make the motion to approve it, just because of what I've read in there, and I have no problems with it being approved.
Okay?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion from the board? Any public comment?
Is there a way to notify the Finance Committee of this grant, just to say that we understand the policy in the past or the principle, and feel that this is one that, because of the renewal, we hope they understand why we made this decision?
Sure, we could ask the town manager to let them know that we don't believe there's any reoccurring costs associated with this grant.
Absolutely.
And that we'll see another grant that's before us tonight that might actually have that. So
Great.
we
Thank
can
you.
explain that, if we can ask the town manager's office to send a note over to the Finance Committee in regard to that.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so the motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Next up is to discuss in town meeting recap. I put this on the agenda because I thought it would be helpful for the board to talk about any issues that might have arisen at town meeting, things that we might want to look forward to in the future, some areas that we might want to discuss. Number one, some areas where we had strengths and weaknesses as a leadership team in the community, and that we could either do a better job, or some areas where that we thought maybe we need some more work to move forward other initiatives. I'd be less than remiss to say that we did have a little stumble at first in regard to providing a full explanation of the capital items. I know that I spoke to the town manager, and I'd like to say that I know Doug had provided an email to Julian, and it was a great suggestion that Julian took up, but explained, even though it passed that original night, that the next night we still were able to provide to the town meeting members that type of information that we hope to do in the future, before, not after, but at least we've got that information to the folks at town meeting. Any other issues that folks wanted to talk about?
One, just to follow up on that, I thought that also gave us a chance to find out if that was sufficient information for town meeting for future ones, and I thought we got the feedback that if we could do that every single time, they would be much happier. The second, I think, is a point that you brought out, Mr. Chairman, and that was to put the town department heads up front at town meeting and making them very, very apparently available for any questions. And I thought that also helped to set a tone for the Thursday meeting that went a long way to appeasing some people's concerns.
I had made the suggestion, and again, we don't run the day-to-day operations for the town manager, but I appreciate him taking us up on that. It was, I think, very impactful to have our department heads up front. First of all, they were easily accessible to the microphone to answer questions, number one. Number two, they were able to look people in the eye rather than be behind them when they spoke. So when you're looking someone in the eye at town meeting versus folks having to look around in their chair, find out what's going on, I think that's very important. It sends a clear signal in this community that folks are working for them, and we're working together as a team to try to accomplish things in this community. So I thank you, Mr. Suso, for taking that suggestion, and I know it's something different, but I think it was very important, and I think a lot of folks commented, at least to me afterwards. They almost thought we were bringing out the reinforcements, but that shouldn't be the way it should be. It should be able to get quick answers to folks' questions. Anything else,
Well,
Pat?
I just wanted to comment on that as well, because the back of the auditorium is not as well lit as the front either. And so people have to turn around, and then, at least where I am, you can't really see very well who's speaking in the back of the auditorium. So I think having the department heads up front is a really good idea. And you're right about being able to talk directly to your audience. and not talk from behind. It makes a big difference. And I think it helps the department heads to be engaged. The other thing I wanted to mention was the improvement in the information on the second night. But if you look back over the last many years, you can see that the warrant has changed a little bit from year to year, but it changed more dramatically, I think, when Jill wasn't doing it anymore, because there was that one person doing it consistently over a long period of time. So I think now that town meeting members have spoken up and you're pretty confident about what it is that they're looking for, what kind of information they need, and how it can be best laid out for them, I think that will make a big difference. And then there can be more consistency again in the warrant as we move forward. So people know where to find the information, they know how it's presented, and they know where to find the answers, and if not, they also know they can call.
All right, and, it would be less than fully honest if we didn't admit that we had a bunch of cooks making the broth in the last two town meetings, meaning we didn't have one person directly responsible for the warrant.
Right.
We've got a finance director on board now who will be directly responsible for the warrant. We had, the last two town meetings, we had town council's office produce the warrant, and it was collectively with the finance committee that they produced the articles. So we'll have one person who'll be the point person as we move forward. Hopefully that will make a big difference and bring us back to fully explained. I thought it was because Mr. Suso came on board and he was used to those 17-day town meetings in Framingham that we just kept, he wanted to find a way that we would be there much longer at town meeting. So, but go ahead.
Just one observation. In years past, we've had issues where people complain about members of the board or committees not showing up to precinct meetings, and I think this time around, we were all right with that, although there was one individual who stood up and mentioned that no one from the school committee had shown up at their precinct meeting. Obviously, we don't have any oversight over the school committee or the planning board, but I think it might be appropriate for the board to consider a policy to say that if there is an article on the warrant that relates to a specific committee or commission or even to this board, obviously, the requirement is that somebody is there to speak for it. And then that way, at least we've covered our bases, and it's then incumbent upon the school committee and the planning board to cover theirs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's always quite evident that there are a lot of, some questions asked at town meeting that could have been asked at a precinct meeting. And maybe those folks just didn't have the time to make the precinct meeting. Maybe we should also encourage those folks, if they can't make their own precinct meeting, to go to another one so they can still ask questions. They shouldn't be perceived as, I live in precinct 1 and I can't go to precinct 5 or 4 meeting, because they're more information gathering than debate. Yes.
I was wondering, has it ever been discussed where they have just one very large precinct meeting so people aren't
We
running
have done
around?
that in the past.
In
When
the
I was on the
past.
board the last time, we did that.
You did?
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more free railing.
It also became repetitive. It just was a preliminary town meeting in which the articles were debated, and then just debated again a week later, as opposed to really information gathering or even question gathering. So many of the precinct meetings now are, what are the questions that are out there, so then we can get the answers.
Well, I mean, one of the concerns I had, because I couldn't go this year, but when I had gone last year, I had gone to 3 of them, and the information coming out of particular questions was totally different. And some people run their meetings differently, where they don't allow to ask a lot of questions. But I had, last year I noticed, and then there was inconsistencies. And then someone's trying to do a presentation, they got to run right out to somewhere else, and I just thought if it was ever a time that could be tried again to see if it would ever work, but to make it easy for everyone. But I think some of the inconsistencies that I was observing and answering what a particular article was about, and it was really,
Well, I think the dynamic of the precinct meetings is kind of different now versus the old time. You get folks in the community who really formulate opinions based on the section of town sometimes they live in, on whether they want to support an article versus another section of town. which can be good. I mean, at least there's a voice for those neighborhoods and those associations.
Well, I think you get better attendance when there's individual precinct meetings, because I'm thinking back to the last general meeting, which was several years ago, many years ago. It was back in the 90s, I think, or the early 2000s. We haven't had them in the last 5 or 6 years.
I do realize that I was on the board at the time, and that was...
Like 2000.
Right,
Yeah, but I mean...
Excuse me for a moment. Sir, you need to identify yourself if you're going to film this evening?
John Carlson, Foss.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
I haven't started yet.
Okay, well, I just saw the camera, I just wanted to make...
appreciate your comment.
Thank you very much, okay.
I think there was less and less attendance, too, because people who wanted to ask questions about how a particular article might affect their own neighborhood, they knew that nobody else was probably interested in that. I just think that the more you can keep it to the precinct, I think you get a better discussion. That's just my opinion.
Okay, any other comments? I think this was productive, at least...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sure.
If I may, as town manager, I wanted to thank all the members of the board for your participation and support during the entire town meeting process, so important. And I do want to, again, thank Selectman Jones for his suggestion about Article 32 and the explanations the following day for the capital project proposals. It was a great suggestion and excellent feedback from town meeting members, and I appreciate you making that suggestion. Thank you, Doug. And also, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your suggestion as well on moving department heads forward. I certainly echo all the comments from members of the board regarding the effectiveness of that, and it was certainly very evident on Thursday evening as many department heads, as we know, were able to get up with some speed and answer rapidly and expeditiously, as well as personally, for a number of the comments eye to eye, as you noted, Mr. Chairman. And also I wanted to thank Moderator David Vieira, who I spoke with after you had made the suggestion regarding bringing department heads forward to make certain that there was not any logistical prohibition on them taking seats up front among town meeting members. And fortunately, many of those on the left side, as we looked out from the stage, had been vacant, and town meeting members had declined to occupy those. So appreciate Moderator Vieira's willingness to allow them to do that and participate in that more meaningful way. So again, my thanks to all, and also my colleague, Assistant Town Manager Heather Harper, for her excellent support and assistance during that whole process. It was very enlightening and very gratifying. So thank you to all, as well as town meeting members. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, the next item up for discussion is discuss and vote Thanksgiving and Christmas shutdown of the wind turbines. We are moving through the process of trying to build consensus in the community. The board has, in fact, a start and stop time of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I put this on as an agenda item to show our continued understanding in the community of the fact that we're trying to come up with a solution as we move forward that will be palatable to everybody in this community. And so as a gesture to the neighbors for the holidays, those two holidays, I thought it might be appropriate to discuss this. Yes, Dick?
I'd like to actually try to separate the two issues, and the motion I would make, and this is really only in response to the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've had issues with the timing of them starting earlier and ending later than we had agreed as part of our protocol, that I would make a motion that we would shut them off for this Thanksgiving as a sign of good faith and a bit of an apology that our system didn't work the way we wanted to.
Okay. So that's a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
That we can discuss? Okay. So there's a motion and a second.
So,
I think Julian had addressed the issues that we're having some problems with Vestas, the time change, daylight savings time, the storm outage, the power outages, things like that. But quite candidly, I used to have a boss that used to tell me, don't complain, don't explain. We need to get it right, and that's as simple as it should be. And I know that Mr. Suso is working on some alternatives that we don't have to look at and worry about a company out on the West Coast that's going to have the start and stop times for us.
Would that mean then, if we do this, they would be going off 7 PM Wednesday, back on 7 AM Friday?
That's what my motion would be. At the time, I'd also like to, as I found out about the Power Dash, which is our online recording of the data, Power Dash is set up as a way of fairly accurately recording how much power is produced. It was not set up to accurately record what time the turbines start and stop. And, that was some of the data that was sent to me by people saying, see, it's starting right then and there. Power Dash is not great for that. Certainly watching the turbines run can be more accurate, but using Power Dash as again, this is not excusing what's been going on, because certainly it was starting before it should, which is the reason why I feel this Thanksgiving, I would like to make that motion. Future years, we're going to be in a different situation, I know, so it's not relevant, but.
Right, and I think what our long-term goal here is to come out with a plan of we're going to be operating them, not operating them, or what have you, after we come to fruition of the consensus building. But this is just a short-term type of scenario that we're talking about. So the motion is for Thanksgiving only, I guess, and then we can talk about the Christmas one after this. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board on that? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The idea of Christmas, I don't know, they put that both there, it's usually a time for family, and I know that the folks in the area don't think that we've adequately addressed all of their concerns. It's an area where, we could discuss as well. I don't think we have the ability to do blanket days off as we move forward, but this was just a gesture of goodwill to the community and to the neighbors in that area. I don't know what the
I'd move that we turn them off during Christmas.
So the same motion is that it would be
7
7
PM
PM
Monday.
on the 24th and start back at
7 AM on the 26th.
Second.
So that's a motion and a second. Discussion on this. Go ahead, Dan.
One reason why I want to separate is I feel very uncomfortable making a decision like that based on a religious holiday. I think the Thanksgiving holiday is a national holiday that does not separate from one religion to another. I think to separate that we're going to celebrate Christmas as a holiday but not celebrate other religious holidays sets us in a precedent that I just should not be mixing church and state. And for us to make that decision based on a Christian faith as opposed to other faiths, I do not feel I could be comfortable with.
I actually wasn't, even thinking about that. I was thinking of the family's gathering. I wasn't even thinking of the religious connotations, but
Well, I can tend to agree with you with one exception, and that exception is it is a national holiday. Meaning that for those that don't celebrate the religious aspect of it, those folks still have the day off. And it's typically, in a different format. Maybe because I am a Christian, I don't consider it that way. I don't look at it with an open mind, but there are some days in the calendar that are national holidays, and that happens to be still one of them. So that's why I honestly believe that we could consider that other than any other religious holiday. Yes.
And I would agree. I mean, religious connotations aside, the fact of the matter is most people have Christmas off. Most businesses are closed on Christmas. In fact, I know that there are a lot of businesses, they're closed generally only 1 or 2 days a year. One of those days tends to be Thanksgiving, the other one tends to be Christmas. A lot of businesses may be open on the 4th of July, they may be open on New Year's Day. There are very few holidays where you find a lot of the businesses closed, and Christmas is one of them. So, again, religious connotations aside, it tends to be a time when people gather with their families. It tends to be a time when businesses are closed. And because of that, when you think about it, these folks, they feel like they're being driven out of their homes during the day. Here you have a day when there's not going to be any place for them to go. The malls are going to be closed. Most businesses, restaurants and whatnot will be closed. Where are they going to go if they can't stay in their home? So I would tend to agree that we should have it shut down on Christmas, if only for that reason.
Right. One last thing. I would tend to agree with you, Doug, if we were talking about Good Friday, which is strictly, the stock market's closed, but it's strictly a Christian celebration in that particular day versus any other day. So, anyways.
Would we be setting a precedent that this is off every year? And again, the reason why I went with Thanksgiving one for this year was a little bit of response to what's been going on recently. If we're doing it this year for Christmas, I think we are setting a precedent that...
Well, you were the one that made the motion that tied the two things together on the Thanksgiving, so maybe Brent would make his motion that because of the start-stop times that...
I think we can certainly make it clear through our discussion that we're not trying to set precedents here, whether it's through the Thanksgiving or the Christmas shutdowns, that, as you said, Mr. Chairman, it's good faith efforts, good faith show, that we are trying to work with the neighbors, that we are understanding of their concerns and the issues that they've brought forward. And until there is a final resolution to this, these are some of the steps that we're taking in order to show good faith in the process.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board? Any public comment? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the Christmas shutdown, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next up is discuss and vote emergency management performance grant for the fire department. This is another grant. Is Chief Sullivan's not here either this evening?
I expected the chief to be here, so I'm not certain what he had.
Okay. The only comments that I have is that this could be construed a little differently than the other grant, meaning the fact that this is to purchase a trailer for the all-terrain vehicle that was purchased by the road race committee.
Right.
So number one is, I don't know whether they made a commitment that they didn't need a trailer at that time when they were allowed the grant, or they might have said that we have a trailer. Next thing is, are there reoccurring costs? Would need to register, and I don't think we insure, but would need to register the trailer on an ongoing basis.
Do we happen to know if this has been in front of the Finance Committee, this particular
This has
grant?
not.
Oh, so we don't have a...
We definitely don't. So it's our scenario, whether we want to approve or forward over to the Finance Committee. We had that opportunity with the last grant, but it was just simply a renewal. This is a renewal grant, but the money is specifically earmarked for this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
Well, when reading this, it says they already have the vehicle.
Well, they have the vehicle. If you remember last summer, just before the road race committee came in and
Yeah, I remember.
wanted to purchase. We sent it to the Finance Committee. Finance Committee looked at it and finally said, okay, we'll let you.
In fact, the fire department, when they were in here, they were the first out of the gate when we started the new policy. And they did go over, get a decision from the finance, and they came back, and it was subsequently approved.
So this is only really to
This-
to purchase the trailer.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The thing is, but the next is, I don't know whether this particular vehicle has all the bells and whistles. We're going to be buying the stretcher scenarios and stuff like that for it next. I don't know. That's why I don't know whether, I wasn't privy to the conversation they had with the Finance Committee when they got the all-terrain vehicle. Was the conversation, this is it, and, we're not going to add any more monies to it, or reoccurring costs? Go ahead, Brent, you had a question.
I think there's, as I'm looking through this, this grant would be used to purchase iPads, a trailer to transport the ATV, and then something about hazmat tier 2 updates, and I'm trying to interpret some of this stuff. My guess, or my, yeah, I've got that information here, thank you. My recommendation would be that we refer this to the Finance Committee, because there are 3 parts to this grant, and I think it needs some in-depth examination before we approve it.
And I'm going to second it, and it's nothing against the fire department at all. They do a wonderful job, but I just feel since the other grant was a little bit different, I would feel more comfortable for this going to the Finance Committee and let them have a hearing on it, however they handle it, and get a response back from them, Mr. Chairman, just for that reason that it's broken up into 3.
So if this is the second year of the grant, the first year of the grant was reviewed by the Finance Committee, is that correct?
Well, we didn't really...
No,
No,
or was it
we-
just the vehicle that was reviewed?
Just the vehicle, the
Just the
grant
vehicle.
itself, I don't know whether we
Had the policy in place?
had the policy in place of looking at it.
Okay, so I'm wondering if these grants are available on an annual basis?
They are
Yeah.
by and large,
They are,
but for different
different.
items can be purchased, and in this case, there are questions related to that policy on what's being purchased now. That's my understanding.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
It does note in here that this is the second year that we've applied for the grant, so I think one of the questions is whether or not we actually received the grant last year and what it was used for. So there are some questions here, I think, surrounding this, that it should require some examination.
So there's a motion and a second
Yes.
to send this to the Finance Committee. Any other discussion here on this motion?
2
Doug,
other
go
very
ahead.
quick points. One is the fact that the vehicle that we received, which wasn't going to have additional costs, is now coming for another grant with additional costs. Fully supports this, should go to Finance Committee. And I was amazed that they're looking to get iPads when I'm sure there are much cheaper notebooks that could do the exact same job that an iPad can. I mean, the retinal display of an iPad will be great, but for what they're doing, I'm not sure that they, need to have that cost. I'd love to have the Finance Committee look into that.
Right, and, typically, incidentally, I think we had discussed the potential, and we didn't have it, a finance director. Maybe it could be reviewed by the finance director and, the Finance Committee. Because that is a 2-part scenario. Your suggestion about the iPads, I didn't even think about that, but you might be right.
Well, maybe they need a connection with the other notebook, but I don't want to get into
There might be a viable
Right.
explanation.
Well, there is one statement they made in here, though, under the hazmat part, that this is a continuing planning project that was started during the last EMPG grant. So they must have had a grant, whether it was the same one last year, whether it's a different type of a grant, but it probably should be reviewed.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, so we'll send that over to the Finance Committee and also ask the Finance Director to take a look at it. Next up is approved minutes of the meeting on November the 5th. Just so the board all knows, I've put a pair of reading glasses in the box, so there's no more of my ineptness in reading the issues on the town off of the agenda. Approved minutes, do I have any corrections?
I have one on page 2. On the second paragraph, Mr. Grosser, his name is Grosser, Howard Grosser. And I don't think I saw anything else. Let me just flip through this. These things are so long. Oh, yes, on the last page, the Inter-Isle Corporation, the middle paragraph there, it's one word, Interisle. That's kind of, as long as I was doing it.
I wanted to make note of one issue on this, that
What page?
it's on page 3, and it's really no correction, but the Falmouth Enterprise reported that we voted the fire department fees for the ambulance, and we did not vote them, we referred them. The Enterprise went as far as to write an editorial about how we voted the fees, but we did not vote the fees. They will be voted at a future meeting, which will probably be 2 weeks from this evening.
So with those corrections, I'll move the minutes of November 5th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain, one abstention. Okay. We'll move back to summary of actions. The-
True.
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, the executive session minutes, did you want to touch on those?
Oh, yes, okay.
Well, perhaps I could make one comment. if I
Sure.
may. I noted that under the header on the executive session minutes, it refers to litigation. I think there was no litigation, discussion, so that, I think, was an oversight to mention litigation. Specifically, it was collective bargaining only, as the board is aware, and those could be released because obviously that's the only topic on there, and the board voted that in open session subsequently as well.
So,
Yes, so that whole line could just be crossed out, litigation, GL, chapter, whatever, and just the collective bargaining remaining.
Yes.
so do you want to make a
Yeah,
motion?
so I'll make
Liz?
a motion that we approve the executive session minutes of November 5th and release them to the public.
With that
And with
correction.
that correction.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Move back to summary of actions. We did approve the secondhand dealer's license, and the next item up is approved request for a special event Striper Fest, 9/27 and 9/28.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, David.
Would you mind terribly if I was to read just the first paragraph from Helen Kennedy's email to us, which lays the whole thing out,
Sure.
really? This is an email from Helen Kennedy to Carolyn Grasso in our office dated the 17th of October. It's a Wednesday at 3:29 p.m. And here's what it says. It says, "Hi, Carolyn. The dates requested for the Striper Fest are available at the band shell. However, I am uncomfortable with the request from this group, which I believe is a profit-making business, to use the band shell in Marina Park for an entire week for a weekend event. The town has never given permission for a group to have 3-day setup time for an event and 2 days breakdown time for the event. Taking over the band shell in Marina Park for an entire week for one weekend event will limit the use to other groups," and I 100% agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is some concern, I understand, in the community about that. I do want to say that one of the proposed fees is you all know that the use of the fields, and not fields, but Marina Park and Peg Noonan Park, we had some discussions the night of our last fee hearing, and we'll be bringing forward a proposal that Mrs. Harper had provided that would charge, first of all, on a daily rate, including the setup days for all of these functions. So in other words, currently, the way the fee is that you pay $100 and you have the use of the entire block of time. That's going to be coming back to the board about paying for each and individual days. Heather, maybe you can elaborate. We had looked at and we spoke that evening in regard to setting a fee, and this is for discussion purposes because we're not going to be doing fees tonight, but a fee for a profit-making group, and maybe you can address that a little bit to the board, what town council's suggestion is.
Sure, we talked a bit about the board's desire as well as the practice in the recreation department related to for-profit versus non-profit. And really the municipal philosophy of fee setting and the laws surrounding that are that the fee needs to have an appropriate bearing in relationship to the cost of the municipality to provide the service to allow that entity to use the public space. You could have general policies that for example, require the space to be open to the public at all times, which would then limit events that, like Striper Fest, that in fact do require a fee for using that facility, which would then possibly make that event not feasible to provide for the public. His recommendation in talking with was an alternative, rather than providing a fee structure that had a different rate of fee for profits or nonprofits, to establish the fee and then provide a discount to nonprofits. That's something that we're planning on presenting to the board. And that's something we'll have to work with the rec department on in terms of its fee structure moving forward.
Okay, Doug?
I would move that we waive or hold any discussion on the Striper Fest fee because we don't have the fee schedule for 2013 yet.
Right. You're kind of, you're right, because if we approved it, they'd be just subject to the fees. Maybe they'd want to back off some of the days
Yep.
afterwards.
But how about the use of the park for a whole week, though?
Well,
I mean, is that something that, do
Well,
we
that-
know that that's absolutely essential, that it takes 3 days to set it up?
No, but maybe because of what Doug is suggesting, and also because we're going to charge now.
Every day.
And the proposed is every day. As soon as you, whether you want to call it a setup day or not, you're really going to tie up the facility, the park. So that would be considered a day. Currently, you pay one fee no matter how many days you have it.
So we're suggesting we
Table this until
table
after.
this until
Take
after
no
the fees are
action.
done
Take
and
no
then
action.
take it up again?
Well,
I'm okay with
right,
that.
and I
And
don't.
then we have better information, too.
Right, and the other thing is, I would hope that at least we don't let somebody else jump in on these dates while we're holding this particular.
Well,
No, and my recommendation is that we still approve the liquor licenses for the weekend days as a sign saying, we're supportive of this event, but we're going to come back on the other issue once we've decided our fees.
Okay. And it would give the applicant an opportunity to say, well, I don't need days on both ends, you know, okay.
So your motion would be to approve the liquor license?
Well,
for
that's, but,
Isn't that what we're doing?
no, we're
Oh, we're
just
not
doing the
doing
Striper
the-
Fest this
Oh,
time.
that's the first.
So your motion is to table this application at this time?
Yes.
All right, second that.
This motion is a second. Any further discussion? Any comment, public comment? Anyone? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next up is, just for my disclosure purposes, I'm the holder of an all-alcoholic seasonal liquor license. This is a request for 2 one-day liquor licenses for Striper Fest. They're on the the 27th and the 28th of September. Conditions on the license, condition rope off a section of the area where alcoholic beverages will be sold and consumed, and then proof of liquor liability insurance is required. So what's the board's pleasure?
I would move approval of these 2 one-day liquor licenses.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Next up is approve the 2013 annual license renewals.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know you're going to probably make a disclosure, but there's, on the all-alcoholic club, as well as entertainment, I just want to make the disclosure that I am a member of the Portuguese American Association of Falmouth. And secondly, under Class 2 second-hand dealer's license, I have to abstain from, or recuse from the first one, since it's a relative. So can we just take those out of?
So why don't we just get down the group and then you can
Okay.
make a decision. I'll do a blanket disclosure that I'm a holder of an all-alcoholic seasonal liquor license, and then if there's any of these that happen to be close to my premises, I will abstain from the vote. First one's all alcoholic retail package stores, West Falmouth Market, Family Foods, Cappy's, and Kenyon's Market.
So moved.
Second.
Motion? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All alcoholic club licenses, you made a disclosure that you're a member of the Portuguese American Club. We also have the Midway Trap and Skeet Club. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All alcoholic restaurants, again, the disclosure purpose of the whole of an all alcoholic seasonal liquor license. We have the Peking Palace, British Beer Company, DJ's Family Sports Pub, the Flying Bridge, Paul Harney Golf Enterprises. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. All alcoholic inn holders license, the Coonamessett Inn. Motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Wine and Malt Restaurant, New Golden Dynasty Restaurant. Motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Wine and Malt Package Store, Windfall Market, Save on Mart.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Common victual license, CF Maine, Paul Harney Golf Enterprises, British Beer Company, Flying Bridge, Peking Palace, New Golden Dynasty Restaurant.
So moved.
Motion is second.
Second.
Sorry. Didn't mean to-
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Entertainment license, Portuguese American Association, Coonamessett Inn, The Flying Bridge, British Beer Company, Peking Palace. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I'll take the Braga Auto Sales as a separate one.
Thank you.
The second-hand dealer's license. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
You abstain, yeah.
Okay. The next one's a Sandy's Auto Sales, Hatem Enterprises, at 40 Davis Straits, Hatem Enterprises at 94 East Falmouth Highway. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Taxi licenses, AA Taxi, Elvis Taxi, pardon me.
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Inn holders license, Coonamessett Inn, Admiralty Inn.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Sunday entertainment license, Coonamessett Inn and the Flying Bridge. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, that wraps up the summary of actions. Just for the board's information, we only had one agenda item next Monday, so we've rolled that one agenda item into the following Monday. So we will have our next meeting will be 2 weeks from this evening,
December 3rd, wow.
okay?
December 3rd.
All right, roll around quickly.
Midnight.
Just
Chairman?
FYI, before that, December the 3rd, we do have the holiday parade in Falmouth, and the board has been invited to march in that parade.
You want to push me if I get a chair?
I'm not pushing you, but you can sit in the car. I did that one year.
What if we got one of those, what is it, the old red,
Wagons?
the wagons? Yeah, we'll get a wagon for you.
Oh, what is it, something flyer?
The radio flyers, that's what I was thinking of.
You know, when I was growing up, my mother worked at a Pell's drugstore.
Oh, no, but I will.
Every morning, there was a gentleman with a red trash can on wheels wheeling it up Main Street. That's how they used to clean Main Street. Every morning. I don't even know what his name was, back in the 60s.
Okay,
Mr.
I'll
Chair,
open it up to individual selectmen reports.
Mr. Chair, just on the December 3rd agenda item,
Yes.
for that meeting, could we announce that we will have the fees for the fire department that evening as one agenda item?
They're being advertised this week if we make all the deadlines for the advertisement.
And
We will have that on December the 3rd.
the second one, do we
I
think
will
we'll
not be
have,
here by then, so.
do we expect to have an answer from the
So
Cape
did-
Cod Commission?
Okay, pardon me?
Do we expect to have an answer from the Cape Cod Commission on that December 3rd meeting concerning the spring bars project?
The scope of the work, how are we doing on that? You need to say that.
We can provide a report, an updated report on that, Mr. Chairman.
I haven't signed them all yet.
Well, no, I'll send them back to you, right?
Because one of the issues was whether we were going to try to have a meeting with the planning board briefly at the same time when that came back. I just wanted to-
Right, and I know that they have been talking about it. Mr. Clark had mentioned that he had heard some discussions, so we'll look forward to at least a report on that
The
Monday.
discussion has been held. We can give the board an update on that on the 3rd.
Great,
That'd be helpful.
thank you.
Even if we don't have the full scope of the project. Any other selectmen reports?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple comments, if I could. I know we discussed town meeting earlier, but this was sort of a different, not a procedural thing we were discussing, but the information that came out, and I've got a couple calls at my house, and someone came up to me today and asked about the comments made by Mr. Jack relative to the water. Now, it may be common sense for the young and the old and someone with a, compromised immune system, maybe not to drink the water, but now that it's on record at town meeting, I was wondering what we should do next. I'm not saying a full-blown 9/11 recall, reverse call or things up on the highway, but you think something should be put in the newspaper that it is the opinion, and I don't know what to tell you. He just said they should not be ingesting the water at least until the filtration plant's online, and I
don't know if you were here, David, but we did institute a protocol. The board did. Were you at that meeting? I know you had been out a little while. So the board had some discussion in regard to a protocol and implemented a protocol about how we would move forward.
Okay, so there's something in the works, or just...
No, it's not. It was in fact a policy that the board actually voted. So...
No, I mean, is there something in the works, or is this what as far as the concern I have, is that come under the policy, or will we just leave it the way it sits?
I don't know if I'm not following what you like us to do is...
Well, we can't take any votes this evening.
I know that, but just tell me what you want.
Well, I have a concern because of what he said at town meeting, not getting to all the residents of the town. That's what my concern is, about not drinking the water for the young, the old, and for anyone with a, compromised immune system. That's all I'm explaining, and that's it.
Well, I don't know, he didn't say they shouldn't. He said they may not want to, because...
Madam Chair,
or
he came right...
did he say they should?
Yeah, he said he does not recommend them just drinking the water until the filtration plant is online.
And I think that we all saw that presentation. Brett was the one that made him flip back to it when we saw the presentation in regard to the water filtration. We went back to the slide, and it was just one big fur ball on the bottom of a long pond.
Did he say-
No, we don't need to send that one, that's the other one. So, it's in fact, it's common knowledge, I believe, that our water is far from pristine in this community at this time. It's acceptable levels, and it's treated so that it's drinkable. But we're going to have some tough decisions to make, and I believe sometime in December or early January, he's going to be having a presentation.
Right, we're awaiting that being finalized.
Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
I guess one thing to clarify is what I felt Mr. Jack was saying was nothing new about the water.
No.
And I think it's the same feeling he's always felt, that with a surface water supply and non-filtration system, there's no way avoiding the fact that there is a danger, and if you are under strict immune system issues, you could see why someone might choose not to do it. But it's not anything new that's happened. It's the way it's always been.
It may not be new, but no town official has ever told me so bluntly, or to the public said that, and that's why I have a concern about it.
Well, I think both Doug and I said it the night we were talking about the protocol. That if folks out there have immune deficiencies, that our suggestions as members of the leadership team in this community would be that you would find alternate ways to drink, the water. I mean, I'm looking for, do you want to have a meeting to talk about putting an ad in the newspaper, don't drink the water? I mean,
Well, I'm just asking, what does the board feel? Do you feel the public is adequately notified? Maybe people don't watch the town meeting. There may be people, they don't have the ability, like the 196-year-old who called me from Queen Street, who watches the meetings and heard what he said. She doesn't have the ability to, for instance, to go to a computer or website, but she's aware of it now. She's homebound. She doesn't even have the money to be buying water every week either, down the street from, so I just want to make sure the public is aware of it, that it's just that when Ray came out with it, it was like the first time very bluntly someone said it. It may be common sense to me, because, I have a filtration on my house, a very elaborate one, but I just want to make sure everyone in town's aware of it. I mean, if someone was to get sick tomorrow or something and didn't know about it, excuse me, that we make every effort. And I'm not sure where I want to go with this. Heather has her hand up, I think.
Go ahead.
I
Oh.
don't have a suggestion
Oh.
for the board on this, but I think the discussion is really important. I just wanted to share a personal experience, and I don't know if it makes any sense or not, but I had a doctor's visit and was talking about my health and asked, do I really have to have a mammogram? And the doctor said to me, she says, you're a woman, you're over the age of 35, you live on Cape Cod, and there's a high breast cancer rate based on the water. So these are attributes to our water supply that are common, and the surface water supply is really no different than the other elements that may be a threat to public water supply. And I just raise that as something that, women of a certain age have to be conscious about because of the region and the area that we live in. Although, we recognize that it is a public water supply and it meets all the DEP standards. So there's lots of different items to be concerned about, and that's one of them.
Okay.
I will say this, that I think for many years, our water system has not changed. I think it's gotten better because we've actually treated it. But there were we've always had a surface water supply. It wasn't until we started testing 15 or 20 years ago on a regular basis that we actually knew that there is some problems with that surface water supply, and we moved to advanced treatment of that, that supply. So to think that this is all of a sudden something new, I think is a reach, because I think this has always been the case in this community. And if and when, you have some areas that, your immune system is deficient, I would take that precaution whether I lived in Falmouth or I lived in Mashpee or I lived in Boston. I don't know if anyone's got pristine water that you're drinking out of a tap. Go ahead, Brent, you had your hand.
I think ever since we had the boil water order, and there's been a rather heightened awareness of our water supply and the issues surrounding it. And, you may recall that was just perhaps the beginning of this whole discussion. I think prior to that, it may have been under the radar. But after that, of course, we had not only the boil water order, we had several public discussions that this board had to go over the issues and the causes and the situation surrounding it. There was, of course, the discussion, the presentation in town meeting about a study, which is underway now, about additional treatment and/or filtration. And, of course, we've had discussions in the months and years since, the one at town meeting, this past town meeting being the most recent discussion, I think. Taken in total, I think if someone is not at this point informed of the fact that there are concerns and issues surrounding our water supply, they probably either haven't been in Falmouth in several years or they're living in a box somewhere, because it's been discussed in various public meetings, it's been televised, it's been discussed in the newspapers. It was discussed as far as Boston, that we had a boil water order and there were issues surrounding it. I don't know what additional notification we could give the public that there are concerns surrounding our water supply, and that, obviously we're taking steps to address that. You mentioned billboards, Mr. Braga. I don't know that would be appropriate at this time of year when we know that the issues surrounding the water supply probably don't exist, that it's usually, as Mr. Jack said, it's in the spring, it's in the fall when there's that turnover, or in the summertime when you have the especially hot weather that starts to cause these situations. It's something I would go back to the comments that I had when we voted our policy, is we should continue to look at that policy and try to refine it and see where we can improve it, based on, looking at other communities and what they do in these situations. So.
Okay, Pat?
Well, just two other things. I think Brent's right in that our water supply is not unsafe. It's a safe water supply. But for some people, it may not be. And usually people who have immune deficiencies are under a doctor's care. So, I mean, that may come up like in Heather's situation. It came up as part of a medical visit. It might come up with somebody who has an immune deficiency in a medical visit too, because it has a lot to do with how you feel if you have a problem with the water. You either provide some way to treat it yourself or filter it yourself, but then if you buy bottled water, you have no idea what the content of that is. So anyway, I think, but I appreciate your concerns and the concerns that people have, but maybe with all of this, there'll be a far more public knowledge about the system.
I hope that by Springtown meeting, we're going to have an action plan of how we're going to change all that.
Well, that's
So,
true, too.
I mean, we're just around the corner in that. The only other thing that I wanted to report to this group was that the first day of town meeting last Tuesday, we had a school building committee meeting. I believe it could be the last school building committee meeting. And the group took action, and based off of, there was a determination from town council. They took action on our request for them to fund an audit or review of the school building project. And they denied the request of the Board of Selectmen to fund that. They thought that, first of all, there were some areas that there is some gag orders in regard to some litigation. Town council said, in fact, we could avoid those areas. Neither here nor there, the school building committee decided not to fund that audit or study. They did have one suggestion that I thought could be relative, is that we could possibly look for some folks to write a summary of the project, where things were right, where things were wrong. And maybe I can use an illustration of that. Sally Giffen, when we were in the process of writing a memorandum of understanding to move to the second phase, she was very helpful, and we reached out to her in the community because she has a long history of good building, projects that were successful in this community and were on time and on budget. She has a history of working in the building industry. So someone like that could maybe help this board write a summary of where we think we may have gone wrong, where we think what we did right in this project, and how we can move on to do our next projects in a better process. That could be one alternative. The other alternative is that the board could have discussion on whether or not we wanted to look to fund this in another format. Yes, Brett?
I would hope that the board considers looking at funding this in as you say, in another format, probably either through a town meeting article in the spring or something within the board's purview. I read the memo. Thank you for providing me with a copy of that. I don't think there was anything in there that precludes this. Obviously, there would be limitations on the extent of the examination, and as noted, for example, the mediation discussions that occurred between the contractor and the building committee are protected by law. But there are other aspects of this whole project that are open to the public. And one of the things, for example, that I'd make note of is I had a member of the general public contact me because they wanted to get a copy of the transcript from the trial with the architect. They had reached out to try to get a copy of that transcript, and they were told it would cost $5,000. By itself, any individual in the community trying to obtain $5,000 to get something that really should be in the public domain, it seems outrageous. It's certainly within the board's ability to pony up $5,000 so that transcript can be held as a copy in the public library and people can see it. That would certainly be a part of the process that was discussed, that there are ways of getting it, and who knows, because it involves the town, maybe we can get a copy of the transcript free. And that if a private individual was asking for it, that there is a cost to it. So those are the things that the board should consider in this whole process.
Okay, so we'll have future discussion about this as we move forward. Again, we could look at maybe, the executive summary written by someone, a disinterested third party, and then that might be a good tool to work on where we need some more investigation, to look on the areas where we may have failed. I'm just grasping at straws here, so just throwing it out, but we'll put it on it as a future agenda item. Okay? Anything else?
Just one other report from the wind turbine option
Okay.
group. They're hoping to have some recommendations or some plans that they can submit to the Board of Selectmen probably mid-January, and they would like to do that at at their last meeting, or one of their final meetings with us in attendance as a board, is what their preference would be. Just to give you all a heads up. Typically, they've been meeting Tuesday or Wednesday. That's just it certainly seemed to be heading that they would like to have that happen, so we can all think about that.
Okay. We may have some deadlines for town meeting warrants, though. I mean, just FYI, because they finish doesn't mean that we're not going to have discussions about this afterwards.
Sure.
So.
I think that's their expectation, is that they're going
It's
to.
their initial report.
Right. So, I
Pass on to us.
mean, we need to make sure that there's some time that we can meet some warrant articles there. I'm just throwing that out there. We need to probably back into the specials.
Well, this is going to be their initial report. It's not a final recommendation. We have to digest all the information, and then we have to decide what to do. It's my understanding the way this is going to come out.
Right.
So they're not saying this is the way we need to go. They're going to give us a set of options.
Right, but what I'm saying is, with the town meeting warrant schedule, typically what happens is the warrant closes sometime in January.
Right.
If they're gonna give a report in the middle of January, then we've gotta take that, digest it, and try to put together a warrant article. We're not gonna make the spring town
Well,
meeting.
once we see it, it would give us some idea of whether we could meet the spring town meeting, because we could always have a placeholder, and we could do all the work, but whether or not we could come to a decision in time for town meeting and in time for the warrant to be
Right.
printed and all that we will have to see.
Okay, Brent?
And there's always the option of calling a special town
Right.
meeting
Right.
in conjunction with the spring town meeting, which has happened on many occasions, especially in this case where there may be financial implications. That's not unusual, so.
And that does give us a little bit more time leeway. If
Yeah.
we do a special on the Tuesday, we can do it about a month later on our articles. Is that
Right, but
correct?
even at that, that warrant still closes sometime in January, even for the special, I'm pretty sure, at the end
Yeah,
of
but all
January.
you really need is a placeholder, though. You don't really have to have the whole article
Okay.
prepared by the end of January.
Okay.
You just have to have a place in the warrant for it.
Okay,
And I think they're working at about this top speed they
Yeah,
could.
they are.
with
They
the amount
could-
of stuff
We
they're
have a meeting
processing, so.
tomorrow night, too.
okay. Well, incidentally, we really appreciate the two of you being our eyes and ears at those meetings. I can tell you that it's a thankless task, and I'm sure that folks out there really appreciate it. Anything else? So next meeting would be
Town
2 weeks from
manager's
this year?
report?
Town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr.
He has
Chairman.
one.
All right, you gotta speak up over there.
I didn't know you were going immediately to adjourn. I thought there was anything else from the board, pardon me.
All right.
Just a couple items, Mr. Chairman. On Thursday morning, this past week, I convened the first meeting of what I'm calling the Town Development Staff Working Group. Our purpose is to meet monthly with town staff members involved, specifically in the development permitting process and a joint and collaborative discussion to facilitate working together cooperatively regarding significant issues and projects in Falmouth. We had an excellent initial meeting, and this staff working group will continue to evolve in enhancing our ability to be more efficient, effective, and more user-friendly in the development and permit issuing area. To underscore the importance of the mission of this ongoing working group, I've asked Assistant Town Manager Heather Harper to serve as chair. Stay tuned on that, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I also want to note that today was the first day of work of our new finance director, Jennifer Petit, and we're very pleased to have Jennifer join us. She was here earlier this evening as well for the tax rate classification hearing, and we welcome Jennifer as a colleague and fellow staff member. Also, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Town Hall and Town Administrative Offices will be closed on Thursday, November 22nd, and Friday, November 23rd for the Thanksgiving holiday. And happy Thanksgiving to all. That concludes my report.
Okay. Oh, that's right, to each and every one out there, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the day.
So we don't meet next week?
We're not meeting next Monday. Okay. Yes.
Just if I could, public happy first anniversary to Mr. Suso.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, I will be putting together some materials for a review of Mr. Suso before we come into the budget process, so we'll be getting that information to each and every one of you, and then we'll be looking at setting some goals for him for next year. Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.